One day, as I was walking through the narrow streets, a wise man came across a beggar. The beggar was a humble-looking man, dressed in tattered clothes and with a weary expression on his face. He was crying profusely. Intrigued and filled with compassion, the wise man decided to approach the beggar. He sat down beside him and asked, "What has brought you to this state of suffering?" The beggar, taken aback by the wise man's attention, shared his story. He had lost everything he owned due to a twist of fate. He lost his home, his family, and his means of livelihood. Since then, he had been wandering the streets in search of food and shelter. Listening attentively, the wise man reached out and gently touched the beggar's shoulder, saying, "But remember, not all is lost. Within you lies a strength and wisdom that you have not yet discovered." The beggar looked at the wise man with confusion, wondering how anything hidden could exist within him, a man stripped of everything. The wise man smiled, stood up, and asked the beggar to follow him. They walked until they reached an ancient tree in the heart of the city. The wise man picked up a fallen, dry branch and began carefully shaping it, transforming it into a flute. Every detail and hole served a specific purpose. When the flute was finally ready, the wise man handed it to the beggar, saying, "This flute represents your life. You may think you are broken and worthless, but within you lies a hidden potential that needs to be discovered. Just like this flute, you can create amazing melodies, but only if you allow yourself to explore and cultivate your abilities." As the beggar received the flute from the wise man's hands, he held it carefully, feeling its rough texture and precise carvings. He looked at the flute with admiration and astonishment, for that simple piece of wood now represented his life. The beggar realized that, just like the flute, he also needed to be shaped and polished. He understood that, although he had lost everything, there was still hidden potential within him. So, he opened his eyes, stepped out of his comfort zone, and embraced the opportunity to explore and cultivate his abilities. He realized that with effort and trust in God, he could do something remarkable with his life. The moral of the story is that often, in the face of life's adversities, we feel weak and undervalued. The scriptures remind us that God works within us, even in our weakness, and empowers us to overcome difficulties. Just as the wise man saw the hidden potential in the flute made from a dry branch, God sees hidden potential in us, regardless of our circumstances. Internally, as it is written in 2 Corinthians 12 verse 9, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." Just as the wise man carves and utilizes the dry branch flute, we are also called to cultivate and use the gifts and abilities that God has given us. Each carving and hole in the flute has a specific purpose, just as each talent we possess serves a purpose in God's work. By exploring and developing our abilities, we can create something beautiful in our lives. As stated in 1 Peter 4 verse 10, each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. Initially, the beggar doubted himself, unable to see any wisdom or value within him. However, the wise man encouraged him to look beyond the circumstances and believe in his potential. Likewise, the scriptures encourage us to trust in God and our own abilities, recognizing that we were created in the image of God and endowed with unique talents. As it is written in Mark 9 verse 23, "Everything is possible for one who believes, even in the face of loss and adversity." It is essential to keep hope alive. The wise man reminded the beggar that not all was lost and that within him was a strength and wisdom yet to be discovered. Similarly, God's hope strengthens us and helps us overcome difficulties, knowing that He has a plan for us, as expressed in Psalm 62 verse 5, "Rest in God alone, my soul, for my hope comes from Him." The story of the flute reminds us that the discovery of hidden potential within us is an ongoing journey. Just as the beggar was encouraged to explore and cultivate his abilities, we are called to embark on a journey of self-discovery, seeking to develop the gifts and talents given to us by God. This journey requires a willingness to step out of our comfort zones, face challenges, and learn from life experiences. As we open ourselves to this exploration, we discover new capabilities, passions, and purposes that were dormant within us. We can surprise ourselves and others with what we are capable of achieving when we allow ourselves to grow and flourish, as stated in 1 Timothy 4 verse 14, "Do not neglect your gift, which was given you through prophecy when the body of elders laid their hands on you." Reflecting on this, we can understand the importance of recognizing and developing our potential, trusting in God, and keeping hope alive in all circumstances.